Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm going to be checking out a commercial piece because we have expanded past the point of the use of this building. I thought I would shoot a video on when is it right for your company to rent space versus buying space or not renting at all. Let's go find out. Dude, we have packed this building out right now. We maximized it. We did it in like 6 months, so we need to get some more space again, which is just a problem because I absolutely hate spending money on anything that messes with my margin. You know, margin is how much money you make, and I'm always trying to be a 50 to 70% margin, which means there's lots of money, there's lots of profits. You want to maximize your margins, so be smart. Could you financially afford to do that, and would that make sense? That should scare you. So when you've started a business, at some point it gets busy, right? And then you need to hire help. You start building a team, you start hiring employees, and at first you're probably running your business out of your house, right? Home office, deductions, all that good stuff. But at some point it gets a little crazy. I mean, I remember when I had my first employee that would come over to my house and be there, and then I would have a team that worked from home, and then we had 5 people. And then it got to a point where it's like, uh-oh, now there's 10 people, 15, 20 people. You can't operate in a house. And so it's like, oh my gosh, when should I actually go and rent space for my company? And it's kind of a big deal because most companies that want to lease you space for your team, they want a 5-year commitment or maybe a 2 or a 3-year commitment. And a lot of people that are brand new business owners that suck at business because they're just new to it, what they end up doing is they overcommit themselves, and then they get emotionally attached to the really nice looking space, or maybe they lease more than they actually need. And before you know it, you've made a $2,000 commitment, a $5,000 a month commitment, a $10,000 a month commitment for all of the space. But what if your company recedes, retracts? What if it goes the other direction? What if people are working from home and you don't need all that space? And it can totally become a big problem. So that's why people ask this question, Kris, when is it time for me to rent? We're expanding our sales team right now, which means we're hiring a ton of people, expanding in our marketing department and our real estate and fulfillment department. We ran out of space. We are packed at the seams and everyone's complaining and whining. We're like, okay, let's find some new space. But we need to do it intelligently to make sure that we don't make any mistakes. Because you know what, it's just like I said, young business owners, new business owners, that's a commitment. And let's say that this space costs $5,000 a month just to get a little bit more space. $5,000, on let's say a 3-year commitment, that's $180,000. This is a $180,000 decision. You shouldn't look at it from month to month. You need to look at this decision over the length of the contract and say, that's the money that I'm committing to spend. All right, so we're gonna check out 3 spaces here. This is about 4 minutes from our office, super convenient. And all of these spaces are for us to basically build another probably 20 to 30 individuals. I'm gonna check the space out and see if it matches. So problem with this place is we want 25 people here, and we can only have 10 people here. So some people are interested in not just renting a space, but what would it look like to buy? Get an SBA loan, get financing. Financing on commercial usually is an expensive proposition. I mean, it might be 10% down, but it could be 20 or 30. Most commercial spaces, it's not like buying a house for $100 or $200 or $300,000. It turns into a $500,000 proposition, or it turns into $1 million or a multi-million dollar, all things depending. I mean, in my 16,000 square foot place, I'm $5 million into that one. And we house a part of my company there. So, really there's 3 options. It's keep the cheapest place where you can operate your business, which is your home. When you have to, then you upgrade to a place that you can rent. Or number 3, you actually buy, which can be super expensive. And I'm gonna share with you where I think your best middle of the road option is. If your business is in a lot of fluctuation and you're not sure, you can rent executive suites in many places month to month. It's actually like a business model where someone says, hey, it's a little bit more to rent, but you have super low commitment because you can just be there literally from 1 month to the next. And there was a time in my company's history when we did that. We rented out, it was 2 offices for 4 people, and then it was 6, and then it was 8, and I was like, we got to get out of here, and we've been consistent, now we're going to upgrade. And so I guess the big thing that you want to be looking at is what is the total cost of the contract, and if your business were to cut in half or go downhill and you had to keep that contract, could you financially afford to do that, and would that make sense? That should scare you because that's a big number. And when I say scare you, what I mean is you want to maximize your margins, so be smart. You do not want to put a high degree of your margin into office rent space. I wouldn't put more than a couple of % into it, and that's where you want to really get smart and play a really smart game. The search continues. That place did not work because we wanted to cram a whole bunch of people into a really small space. Not really. 3,000 square feet and 25, 30 people works just fine, but not for parking. And so there's all these considerations. I drive responsibly a lot of the time. And my wife reminds me that some of my imperfections definitely include deciding when I'm above certain rules and laws. And that sounds like a whole lot of ego, but actually it is a lot of ego. And I shouldn't really be above any rules, but there's a slow road that no one ever drives on where I live, and I just turn it in my own little personal speedway. It makes me happy. I like that feeling, or like driving in the canyon. You hit a corner at 120, 130, and you're hugging it's a cool feeling. I like adrenaline, I guess, at the end of the day. I like a little bit of adrenaline. So check it out. Here's where we're kind of at. This is a really nice area. It's about 5-6 minutes from my office. This is the biggest mall in this entire county. When I bought my last commercial property, it was for an event center. I put on these big events, and then we rented out to other people doing events. And here were the hardest things to look for. Number one, I had to find a freaking massive amount of parking. Again, that could be such a big problem out in the game. The second thing that I actually needed to look for was 2-story ceilings without any posts or beams, because we've got a 7,000 square foot ballroom, and I did not want beams or posts getting in the way, so that was a priority for me. Okay, so check it out. Here's the bottom line that you need to know about commercial. It really comes down to 3 things. Number one, do not rent a space for your business if you don't need it. Like if it's like, oh my gosh, we're operating just fine having people work from home or with our home offices. If you don't have to upgrade, don't upgrade. Number 2, the next most cautious thing that you could do is go into executive space where you can lease month to month. Super smart play. After that, you look at actually doing maybe a 2, 3, 4, 5-year long-term lease where you can negotiate lower rates, but you know that your business is tried and proven and it's going to be long-term. You want to calculate the big bill and say, oh, I'm ready for that $180,000 or $2 million commitment. Or if your business is freaking crushing it and doing super well, that's when you'd say, you know what, maybe we just want to buy a building. If I take these 5,000 square feet and the full service price is $1,850 a foot, then I take 5,000, I times it by 18.5. That's $92,000 a year. Then I have to divide it by 12 to figure out what my monthly net is. It's $7,700. So did you see how I do that? That way, when you actually look for space and it says, oh, this place is Class A at $25 a foot, full service, then you can actually do that. So you need to also understand this here. This place needs some work. So they'll say if you actually rent this place for longer, like 3, 4, 5 years, then we'll actually front 50 grand or whatever, and we're gonna do new carpet, new paint, whatever. But if we come in here and say, we actually like it as is, or just kind of patch up a little of this and that, then they say, well, if we're not gonna drop 50 grand, then we would totally give you a shorter term lease, maybe a 2-year, maybe a 1-year. But ultimately, the owner of the building, their goal is to get you to sign the longest lease possible for as much space as possible so they can get their place rented out and don't have to worry about turnover sooner rather than later. So let me just kind of do the math. So for what we currently need, I think that space on that first floor on this side with those views was the best. Yep. And if we look at the price of that, that came in at $1,750 before negotiating, and it's 2,500 square feet. It's $43,000. And if I want them to drop money into paint, carpet, make this nice, and let's say I make a 3-year commitment, I multiply that by 3. This is a $131,000 commitment, right? It might be
over the course of 3 years.
Over the course of 3 years. So you want to look at it that way. You want to say, all right, I'm making a $131,000 buying decision over 3 years with monthly payments. Now, a couple things that you can know is if you are going to rent a space, there's a couple things that you can negotiate. Number one is understand what they want. They want you to sign a longer lease. And what they want to do is put as little money in. You could say, I want the shortest lease, but I want you to put the most money in, right? So it all comes down to how much money do we have to put into refurb if the place needs that, as well as what's the length of lease. We could get this place dope. And here's what I've done on some previous leases. I could say, you know what, I'm willing to do a 4-year contract instead of a 3-year, but I want to have 6 months of free rent. I don't want to pay rent for the first 6 months. And I'm going to push it. I don't want you to drop 50 grand in. I want you to drop $70,000 in because I want you to upgrade the doors with more glass, or I want you to do some of this, or I want you to raise the ceiling. And all of that just becomes, at the end of the day, a negotiation. How desperate are they to get a tenant in? How much are they willing to give you versus, what are you willing to put in? Here's the thing that I think you do need to be aware of. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you want to put your money in the most intelligent thing you can. My warning that I'm raising for you in today's video is be sure that you're not putting your money into a whole lot of rent space. If your business could go south, don't rent more aggressively than you could or should. Make sure you're making good decisions to minimize your expenses and maximize your margin. That's from the business side of me. The other side of me is saying, save your money. Don't buy a commercial building as an investment, because in general, you'll likely do a lot better in single family, whereas we're like crushing it at 25%, 27% average annual ROIs. Like, we're killing it in that space right now. And by the way, if you want to learn more about that, click the link below and you can actually get a free copy of my document showing my last billion in real estate and why I believe in that niche. And the best part is it's fully turnkey. So you don't actually have to put your time, effort, and energy into it. So guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope it was helpful for those of you that were seeking answers on when is it time for my business to actually rent a space, buy a space, or should we keep it simple and have people working from home because it's working right now and people are loving that. Those are your 3 options. Hopefully that gave you some great clarity. Make sure that you guys subscribe if you're not. We got more videos coming your way tomorrow. Dropping like rain and waiting to forever.